Hey there everyone, and welcome to your March overview video for the Golden Circle, empowering you to lead a divinely inspired life. So I'm really looking forward to the month of March, and I hope you are as well. There's a lot happening astrologically, and I think this is like our portal month or our window month where we'll start to see some of little taste tests and previews of some of the longer cycles that are upcoming. So as the month begins, it kind of starts how February ends. So we have the continuation of Mercury in Pisces in retrograde or going retrograde. Then we also have the continuation of Mars in Capricorn. So at the onset or the offset, it's kind of all is the same. That starts to change a little bit, however, from the 4th, when Mercury backs into Aquarius. So it'll back into that 29-degree position of Aquarius. As it does, it's going to form a sextile aspect to Venus in Aries, who's also at 29 degrees. So this is going to be a really interesting aspect that of course I'll flesh out more in the week 1 video. But this is definitely a signaling that even though technically speaking, the Mercury retrograde isn't fully over, it's really starting to dry out or clear out, or the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Now, on the same day, Wednesday the 4th in the Northern Hemisphere, and on the 5th here in Australia, we get Venus in Taurus. Now, I'm super excited about that. Not only for obvious reasons. I'm the native of Venus in Taurus, and it's always great to have a benefic in one of their domiciles or exaltations from a transit perspective. But what I think is really great about this particular tour of Venus in Taurus, it's actually like the best version of Venus we're going to get all year. Yes, we've had Venus in Pisces, the sign of her exaltation, in January. However, she was squaring Mars in Sagittarius. Then when we get Venus in her next sign of rulership, Libra, later in the year, she'll be forming a square to Mars in Aries. Whereas Venus is in Taurus, she's free of Mars. She'll be making a trine to Mars in Capricorn. And then, of course, a square to Aquarius towards the end there, but it will be not within range from a degree perspective. So all things being said, this is the best version of Venus we have all year. So when it comes to Venusian things like fun, pleasure, enjoyment, connectivity, perhaps a little bit of indulgence or luxury, the month of March is definitely your cosmic invitation to live it up a little bit. Do those things that you enjoy. Maybe you're overdue for a massage, book them in. Maybe you need to, get your hair done. I know I've been waiting for Venus and Taurus to do my own. I didn't want to do it while Venus was in Aries. Or any of those little luxuries that you've been denying yourself, Venus in Taurus is definitely the ideal time to do it. So she'll move into Taurus on the 4th and then on the 5th here in Australia. So she'll be there, I think, until about the first week of April. I'll just double check my notes on that. Yeah, till about the 4th of April. So certainly go to town on your Venus things. It's the best version of Venus all year. So then that also, on a side note, with that being said, Fridays being Venus's day, really great to maybe bring some fresh flowers in your home or book those appointments that I mentioned. And of course, Monday nights are Venus's night. So that's a really great time to perhaps make a special dinner or have that glass of wine, even if it is a school night. Or if you are into planetary magic and planetary rituals, do those on a Monday night as well. And of course, that's probably like the bulk of the early stuff of the month. And that all ushers us into the full moon in Virgo, which occurs on the 9th across all time zones at 19 degrees of Virgo. So having a Mercury-ruled lunation is really going to help us clarify and get clear around some of the Mercury retrograde snafus and hiccups that have been going on. And as we get this full moon in Virgo, Mercury stations direct on the 9th in the north and on the 10th down here in Australia. So that sort of the end of the first week, or the beginning of the second week, I should say, is really that light at the end of the tunnel around this very sloshy Pisces season that we have been in. So that full moon, definitely great to bring some clarity, some sigh again, some clear vision and organization around the things that may have been stalled around the Mercury retrograde. So one of the reasons that March is one of my favorite months of the year, any year, is that it is the equinox. So what we call the Aries Ingress. So that is when the sun enters 0 degrees of Aries, and that happens on the 19th in the north, the 20th here in Australia. And that is the spring equinox or the autumn equinox down here. So that is the start of the astrological new year, which is an ideal time to really start warming up, planning, preparing what you might like to see manifest over the next 12 months. For me personally, this is bigger than New Year's Eve when it comes to making resolutions or goals or promises or things that you may want to bring into your sphere for the next 12 months. And then, of course, shortly after the spring equinox, the autumn equinox, we'll have the new moon in Aries on the 4th, and that is your best time to really bring in that new, fresh energy. So that is something that happens every year. Of course, the new moon doesn't always fall in March, but the spring/autumn equinox always does. So that is your really, we've had a bit of a warm up to the year, like with January and February. Now we can really knuckle down and get where we want the next 12 months to go from an astrological perspective. Then we have probably like one of the biggest things of the year is the ingress of Saturn in Aquarius, which is huge. So that happens on the 21st in the US and Canada, and here in Australia on the 22nd. So the 21st to the 1st of July for the northern time zones, and from the 22nd of March to the 2nd of July here in the south. This is where we get that first window of Saturn in Aquarius. So these 3-4 months are a preview to the movie trailer that we're going to get starting December. So take a look at the Aquarius house in your birth chart. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, and so you can see where that is. So what I'm showing you here is where the ingress of Saturn in Aquarius happens. And this is what you're looking for in your own birth chart. I have had some questions come through asking for a little bit more I'm going to struggle to say this, getting more specified. I can't speak very clearly about like where these transits are happening in. I'm going to start doing a little bit more check your chart type of videos for you to help you understand where things are playing out for or in your own chart. But, looking to where the house that holds this sign of Aquarius is going to be where a lot of planetary action is going to be happening, not only in the next few months, but also in the next few years. So the beauty of this, so that ingress of Saturn in Aquarius, Brisbane time happens just prior to 2 p.m, so about 2 minutes to 2 on the 22nd, which is a Sunday. And then I'm just going to change the location here so we can see it on a different time zone. So let's just pick Seattle there. So that will take the Pacific time zones, and that happens down, that will be a 5th house ingress for you. Not that that matters from a personal perspective, but the time there is about 2 minutes to 9 on Saturday, the 21st of March. So that's a very big week as we get into that kind of middle of the month, getting in towards that middle to third quarter of the month where we get that ingress of Saturn in Aquarius. You'll definitely hear more about that as we move through it. So it'll be definitely a great break to have a little bit of reduction in Capricorn energy, of course. So we'll also get some entanglement with Mars and Jupiter and Pluto. So Mars will hit up with Jupiter first at about 22 Capricorn, and then Pluto at 24. And so this is going to set off some of, I guess, some of my more favorite astrology aspects for 2020, and that's the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which takes place in April and in June, and the third time in November. So my tip for this Jupiter Pluto mixing with Mars this month is to take note of happenings, particularly around the 20th to the 23rd. This might provide you with some insight around your Capricorn house and some of the bigger picture Capricorn stuff that's really been up front and center for the last 3 years, and particularly last year. So this might bring up themes. We're talking Jupiter and Pluto, maybe some hidden wealth, maybe a hidden opportunity. Maybe it will be shifting up some powerful beliefs, maybe amplified manipulation, potentially. Jupiter will amplify the significations of Pluto, and manipulation can be one of those things. Or perhaps on a more of a positive note, amplified transformation. So these are the things that Jupiter and Pluto can bring, those hidden wealth or hidden opportunity that may not seem obvious, as Mars comes and collects these two planets in short succession between the 20th and the 23rd. This is where there may be, you've got to take some action around these things. And then, of course, one of my favorite things, particularly with Mars in Capricorn, is decide Mars and then do Capricorn. And then, of course, the big Saturn in Aquarius ingress, which I mentioned. And then Mars changes signs at the very end of the month. I will provide you with your Mars and Aquarius fact sheets in next month's astrology for April. But what we really get there is, I guess, perhaps Mars's ingress into Aquarius, and then it will join Saturn right at the end of the month. So we'll get that once in every 2 year Mars and Saturn conjunction, but it happens in Aquarius. We miss it in Capricorn this time. So we do sort of get perhaps maybe a little bit of a rocky start or a rough start that will ingress us into this new Aquarius zone that we're starting to emerge into this month. So that's the monthly overview. Finally, Mercury retrograde ends, and we have the equinox, and then we have the initiation into, I guess, the next 3 years of astrology starting this month. So it's a very exciting month, and I look forward to covering more of it with you in each of the weekly videos. I'll see you then.